Hello and welcome to this webinar on improving order fulfillment in e-commerce. My name is Ali. I'm the CEO of Primaseller. Primaseller is an omnichannel inventory and order management software that helps retailers scale their business across multiple channels. What we'll talk about in this session is firstly the definition of order fulfillment, receiving inventory and storage, picking and packing process, shipping, handling 3PL, return management, dropshipping, and measuring margins. A little bit about us. Primaseller, like I said, is an inventory and order management software. We synchronize real-time inventory across multiple online and offline channels, including brick and mortar stores, for which we provide a point of sale. We allow you to process your online orders by fulfilling and shipping using our integrated shippers. We also integrate with QuickBooks Online for accounting support and allow you to interact with your suppliers by creating purchase orders, both manual and automated. Right? Quickly, how do we define order fulfillment? So let's assume you have a customer and a retailer. A customer requests certain items, and that's what you call a sales order. Now, the way the retailer responds to that request by providing the items to the customer is what we call as order fulfillment. Right? What's there to improve? At the end of the day, a retailer needs to strive towards customer delight. And true customer delight is accomplished by faster fulfillment time. The sooner you deliver your items, that's better. Products that match customer expectations and avoiding any errors during the order fulfillment process. First thing that you need to figure out is how do you receive and store inventory from your suppliers. You'll obviously raise a purchase order to your suppliers, and they are going to send the items to your warehouse or your brick and mortar store. Ideally, the global standard is about receiving it in a central area and testing your items to see whether what you ordered is what you received, and also to check the quality of the items that are delivered. Especially items that have batches, it's important for you to see that the expiration date has not been exceeded. The next step is what we call a put away. A put away is nothing but the process by which you put items onto the shelves of your warehouse. Ideally, you want to put the most recent items behind and your older items being pulled to the front. This is useful in your picking process, which ensures that a FIFO, which is first in and first out fulfillment, takes place. And that's the reason why we're covering receiving and storing inventory in an order fulfillment session, right? So it's important that the way you receive your inventory also impacts how your fulfillment takes place. Let's move on to the picking and packing process. This starts happening the moment you receive an order. So your inventory management software like Primaseller would firstly generate a pick list, which is a list of items for a certain set of orders that need to be picked from your shelves at one go, instead of you going to your shelves to pick each order and then pack it separately. You firstly need to assign it to a certain individual who would be called the picker. Use a trolley which has boxes, empty boxes, which are also called totes. Each tote would have a barcode scanner. The pick list will give you a path of walking through your warehouse to individual shelf locations, at which you will scan the shelf, you will scan the tote and the items to match the items that you need to be picked for each order. Once all the totes are brought back post-picking, they're scanned and a packing slip is printed for each tote, which will indicate the items that are expected. This is sort of a secondary check after your barcode scan. You pack the items using the packing materials available to you, and then you assign a shipper and buy labels. Once a label has been purchased, you either go and drop off with your shipper, or your shipper will come pick them up from you, depending on the contract that you have with your shipper. This is essentially the picking and packing process for an order. What you have to understand is if you run a small business, you may not have individual people for each task, but having a proxy for each step, even if it's a single person processing all of this, is important so that you have a process that you can fall back to and see what are your missing gaps. The next thing I'd like to point out is QC, which is quality checks. This is something which is often overlooked, but it's extremely essential both in terms of receiving inventory and shipping it out. So while receiving your purchase orders, it is important for you to do a QC to ensure the right items have been received. And while packing your items, it's important to have a good look at the items, if possible within the packaging as well, to see if the item is in good shape, it's in a sellable format, and so that the customer doesn't have an opportunity to complain about defects in the item, at least those which are visible to the naked eye. The next thing we'd like to talk about is effective shipping. Right, shipping is all about a delicate balance between how much you spend versus how fast you can deliver the items to your customer. So the first thing we'd say is try to set a practical ETA, the expected time of arrival of the item to the customer, on your website or on Amazon, and always strive to exceed them. However, if you say that your items are going to take 20 or 30 days to deliver, it's very likely that your customer is never going to buy those items from you online. They'll probably go to an offline store and buy it the same day. So there is a balance of ETA that needs to be matched. You also need to look at returns. So even if you use premium shipping for both onward as well as return, every time a return happens, you're going to incur twice the cost. So it's not just the cost of sending an item, it's also about bringing back the item. So you have to factor that in whenever you choose the right shipping service. What we recommend is to classify your items based on size, weight, and packing requirements. Assign a shipping service that matches that class of items. So that way you're sure, and you can train your staff saying that, okay, if you receive an order for class A of items, use USPS flat box, and if you receive a different type of items, use FedEx for this. So certain rules can be set basis the type of items. Of course, there's also the destination, whether it's domestic or international, whether it requires customs. These are other factors that you can get in the system. One thing which we notice is people tend to start off with free shipping, thinking that it's going to increase sales. What eventually is going to happen is it's going to eat into your margins. It's not necessarily a good choice unless you're running a major campaign around it and you know that the value derived will be higher. We recommend that customers are already accustomed to shipping charges on orders, and there is no need to unnecessarily wean them away from that practice. What's more important are that you're selling profitably, and as a small business, you're making enough to take on the biggies like Amazon. So to summarize the process, you receive inventory, check it for quality, put it away in your shelves, and then when you receive a sale order, you start a picking process, print packing slips, assign a shipper, and then pack and ship. Let's talk about returns. So it's important for you to, on your website, to have a very comprehensive returns policy. What kind of refunds you're going to give, at what point do you give a refund, do you going to give a refund before you receive the items, what is the duration after which you will no longer accept returns, what is the best way to describe a product that has been used by the customer before returning. So these are the kind of clauses that you have to take care of before building a policy. It's very important to also track return reasons. So either through an email or a call, try to understand from our customer why they're returning an item. It's ideally best to capture this data at the point at which your customer is requesting a return on your website, and then analyze it to see what aspect of your business do you need to fix. Is it that the customer is returning items the most because they're damaged, or are they returning items because they're getting the items really late, so your delivery partner needs to be fixed, or it could be any other such factor which has its own unique solution. QC, it's important for you to receive the items and check whether they're in resellable condition, and then you need to restock and sell them. Otherwise, it's important to mark them as damaged so that it can be fixed later, or simply discard if it can no longer be fixed. In-store returns is something that is very important for online orders. So let's say you're selling on your website but also have brick and mortar stores. We actually recommend that you allow the customer to come to your closest store and return the items to you, because this is a great opportunity to upsell. So you may even incentivize them by coming to the store that you get better offers instead of just shipping the items back to your warehouse. 3PL is a very common structure which large retailers adopt, where they hire a 3PL partner to fulfill their orders and ship them out on their behalf, and they will store inventory on their behalf. We recommend selecting a partner who's familiar with your product type. If you're selling, let's say organic food, then it's recommended that you work with someone who knows that category instead of going with someone who's a specialist in furniture. It's always good to visit them once every now and then, understand their process to know what kind of performance you should expect from them. Know that these 3PL partners typically work with multiple retailers, so you're not their only focus. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. It's important not just to measure your order to ship time, which is how fast they pick, pack, and ship your order, but also how much time they take to deliver the items from the warehouse to the customer. These are two different metrics which will help you optimize and give feedback as to what they can improve on. How do you know whether a 3PL partner is doing well? Talk to your customers. I believe that if you can send a good survey with specific questions about how fast did you get your order, were you satisfied with the quality of the product, were you satisfied with with the shipper that delivered the items to you. These are important questions which will give you an insight of how your 3PL partner has been working. We also recommend using an NPS score. An NPS score is nothing but a net promoter score, which asks one simple question: on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that you will recommend us to a friend? And this has become a global phenomenon which gives you very good insight as to how much customer loyalty have you really earned. So an NPS score is an important part of your feedback survey. Please do Google up on NPS and figure out how do you measure it accurately. Dropshipping orders is another popular trend. Several pros, you don't have to commit to a stock. Your supplier is going to ship it to your customer directly. There's an easy way to get started without you investing too much money, but it has a few cons. A, you do not control the process. You don't know how well your supplier is handling those items that you requested to be shipped to your customer. And also you're exposing your customer base. So not only are you allowing your supplier to directly interact with your customers, you're also possibly violating certain privacy regulations where you're sharing your customers' details with a third party without their explicit consent. So these are things that you need to be very careful about while building around your structure so that you have everything in place. Another thing to watch out for that we've seen commonly in dropship sellers are the tax implications. So the place of supply or the nexus with the state is important. So let's say you're selling from California, but your supplier is sitting in Texas, then it's important for you to understand that the tax regulations for Texas will apply and not where you are sitting out of California. So this is something that's important for you to figure out. Talk to your accountant and have clear rules as to what states are you going to trade through and what states are not worth the effort, right? So this is something which is important for you to figure out, and and embed into your business. Let's talk about money. How do you figure out what are the right margins for your orders, right? So let's say you're selling a single item that was lying in your stock. How do you know what is the cost price of the stock? Let's say it's out of one item out of 100 items, each were bought at a different point of time and possibly at a different cost price, right? How do you allocate the cost to an order? It is our opinion that instead of giving an arbitrary fixed cost or even taking your weighted average cost of inventory in your warehouse, try FIFO, which means the oldest item to come into the warehouse of the inventory available. That's the cost price that we use for the current sale, and then keep going for every new subsequent sale. So FIFO is a very useful parameter, and I think that's the kind of margin measurement that you should be doing, and looking into a software like Primaseller that will actually support it. Attribution of cost is not just about the purchase price of the item. You're also packaging and shipping the item, you're handling returns, you're giving a payroll. So how do you factor that into your gross margins is also very important, so that you know that you're fulfilling items in a profitable manner, right? So it's not just about the process of fulfillment, it's also about the value generated. It should be net positive, and that's by ensuring that you have positive gross margins for your order. Any questions? Happy to answer them. Please let me know, or you could contact us at contact@primaseller.com. Thank you so much for your time, and hope you had a great day. Bye.